Welcome to the Swayam MOOC course NGOs and Sustainable Development, Unit 5, Module 39, Role of NGOs in Implementing Environmental Laws. Learning Objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to learn the different NGOs working for the environment, understand how NGOs are instrumental in implementing the environmental laws. India is the second most populous nation in this planet. Large population base and rapid economic growth have led to environmental issues and problems, notably with regard to air and water pollution, water logging and rapid loss of natural resources. India must act right away to stop the environmental degradation. Sustainable environmental practices must be enhanced in India. Sustainable development, according to the World Commission on Environment and Development, is growth that satisfies the current demands without jeopardizing the needs of the future generation. Environmental sustainability is the long-term upkeep or improvement of environmental quality. Now, what is the role of NGOs? Why do we need NGOs? India's economy has had amazing progress since independence, with improvements in healthcare, education, eradicating poverty and general level of living. However, in some places, women, children and the underprivileged people continue to be excluded from the development process. This continues to be a problem. The increase of Naxalism, recurrent violence in nations. According to the Global Hunger Index, which is the GHI index for 2020, 14% of the Indians are undernourished. The country's child stunting rate was 37.4% according to this report. India was ranked 94th out of the 107 nations in Global Hunger Index. In such circumstances, civil society is essential in raising the awareness of the people issue and ensuring that the minorities are not overlooked. The civil society must participate constructively and cooperatively in the state's numerous plans and initiatives for the development. Non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, have a very significant role to play in the social development process of the society, since they are the operational arm of the society. Voluntary organization with a goal to enhance social welfare, literacy and relief programs came into existence during the British rule. The history of NGOs can be traced back to Mahatma Gandhi's mission to promote rural self-sufficiency, which resulted in the establishment of the Central Social Welfare Board in 1953, the National Community Development Program in 1954, the National Extension Services in 1956 and the three-tier Panchayat Raj system in 1958. The Association for Voluntary Agencies for Rural Development, which is the AWARD, was subsequently founded as a coalition of significant voluntary organizations. NGOs have grown extraordinarily over the years, particularly during the 1970s and the 80s. The 90s saw a tremendous rise in the number of NPOs, that is non-profit organizations, with the civic society taking a keen interest in their growth and advancement. During the past few decades of the 21st century, there has been notable international funding and support from international donors to the NGOs. Now, the NGOs in India, there are three primary categories of NGOs in India, which can be categorized as societies, trusts and charity corporations. NGOs get money from government, from foundations, from businesses, from private citizens and also from international donors. It is difficult to overstate the importance of the NGO as a concept in theory and in practice, as a dynamic way to ensure that the concerns of the citizens of this country receive protection in terms of the rule of law. India is the largest democracy in the world, the seventh largest country in terms of land area and the second most populated country in the world. The Indian Constitution is a remarkable source of essential fundamental right for the defense of the common people. In their crucial functioning of assisting people in India in enforcing their rights, NGOs heavily rely on these rights together with the guiding principles of the state policy. Our natural resources are dispersed across the entire earth's surface among human settlements and in inhospitable isolated locations. Therefore, it is impossible to maintain or care for those resources in the greatest possible way for anyone other than the government entities. So, at this moment, NGOs enter into the picture. NGOs are groups of people who are committed to achieving a specific goal who operate within the organization. They focus on issues including analyzing the resource requirements, planning for the resource requirements, and comprehending the internal relationships between different distinct government and social entities. They also assist the government in gathering pertinent data to support and facilitate the execution of significant environmental programs. Environmental awareness and enforcement are more important than ever before, and they must be done immediately. In order to conserve the environment, NGOs and the general public need to be aware of this importance. The NGO's area of action in environmental protection include raising public awareness, developing resources and documentation, introducing alternate livelihoods, coordinating with various government agencies, managing and restoring habitat. Numerous NGOs are working for this aforementioned causes on a global, national as well as at the regional level. Some of the NGOs that work in the field of environmental conservation and ecology are presented now. One is the Tropical Research and Development Center. This environmental NGO works to protect the environment and preserve the natural resources for the future generations. The goal of TRDC, which was founded in 1994, is to make the natural resources accessible to everyone without any exception. Through education, awareness and conservation, this not-profit organization with its headquarters in Bangalore seeks to promote development principles. The TRDC Paryavarnan initiative, which has been implemented in a few Karnataka districts, aims to fight against the problems caused by environmental deterioration as well as climate change. The project also intends to improve and conserve the local flora and fauna, revitalize the water resources, include farmers and the younger generation in the fight to preserve the natural resources. Next is the Center for Environmental Education. Their primary goal was to raise the environmental consciousness among the population, carry out extensive environmental education, train the people on how to promote environmental protection. The third is the CPR Environmental Education Center, which is the CP Ramasamy Iyer Foundation. It encourages the creation and dissemination of fundamental environmental education and reference materials as well as undertaking of environmental projects. In the area of environmental education, it is very effective. 4. Assam Science Society. Through teacher and student camps and environmental surveys, they provide environmental education and training. 5 is the Bombay Natural History Society. This aims to disseminate knowledge of flora and fauna by means of lectures, field trips, literature, presentation and expeditions. It also studies issues relating to wildlife and makes management plans, recommendations to protect the wildlife and its habitat. It carries out field studies on bird migration as well as investigations into the movement and population dynamics of the Indian avifauna. 6 is the Kerala Sastra Sahitya Parishad. It is established to protect the environment, to offer developmental models, to make science more accessible to the common man. They have contributed for eco development by raising the awareness for the need to conserve energy and water by promoting the use of unconventional fuels like the smokeless chulas, among several other things. The 7 is the Kalpavarish. It is a citizen action group created to foster awareness and concern for environmental issues, particularly among the young people. Additionally, it aspires to perform environmental problem research, advocate for environmental causes, and develop a comprehensive environmental perspective. By creating a network of nature clubs, leading bird watching excursions and nature hikes, and creating workbooks for the school level, it provides environmental education at both the school level as well as at the college level among universities. The 8th is the Narmada Bacho Adalon. This was founded in 1986 with Medha Patkar as the founder. Its principal objective is to inform those most directly impacted by major development projects such as the tribal members about their social and environmental causes. The objectives are to raise awareness about the right to information and a new environmentally friendly water policy, to protest against the building of dams generally in the Narmada Valley, to enable the indigenous people to make use of the government's development programs and services. The Narmada Valley population are primarily educated, mobilized and organized on issues connected to human rights and justice, alternate development strategies, environmental concerns with large dams and the Narmada project in particular. They are battling against eviction and disdain for human rights. The 9th is the Foundation for Revitalization of Local Health Traditions. The FRLHT is a cutting edge knowledge organization with a mission to revive Indian medical history. The three main focus of this NGO is preserving the natural resources employed in the Indian medical system, establish the usefulness of the traditional knowledge to the present generation, revitalizing the social mechanism for passing down this knowledge. Next is the Sankalp Taru Foundation. This environmental NGO is a prime illustration of how digital platforms can be utilized for environmental preservation as well as protection. This environmental NGO seeks to encourage tree plantation throughout the nation. It operates in 21 states. Sankalp Taru is able to deploy cutting edge technology such as the GPS tagging system among several others, because the plantation drive is conducted on a digital platform. Volunteers can monitor the advancement of the plantation drive all over the country. Millions of trees have already been planted since the Apurva Bandari was founded, and the Sankalp Taru was founded in 2013. The 11th is the Chintan Environmental Research and Action Group. Chintan is dedicated to encouraging sustainable and equitable growth for every member in the society. By promoting responsible and sustainable consumption, Chintan seeks to save the environment. The founder, Bharati Chaturvedi, is a passionate writer who has written several influential pieces for supporting environmental preservation. At Chintan, they work to improve waste management, encourage sustainable consumption and remove or lessen the garbage. By raising awareness, they also speak out against air pollution. Promoting sustainable consumption and waste management is done primarily to help the weaker and more marginalized members of the society by giving them the resources. Chintan, one of India's leading environmental NGOs, manages more than 30 tons of solid and electronic garbage daily in and around Delhi. The trash that is gathered from each doorstep is sorted and recycled. In order to rid the environment of such hazardous waste and to build a better future for the future generations, they collaborate with the garbage collectors and the volunteers. The 12th is the Jan Mitran Kalyan Samiti. With the intention of collaborating with the government and the neighborhood based organizations, it promotes community development, and this NGO was founded in 2002. It is collaboration with NABARD. They have successfully established more than 925 orchards throughout the Wadi development program, giving the tribal people a means for subsistence as well as to provide for the essential necessities. The project's most surprising success is that farmers can now cultivate more crops on more fertile land that was before barren and was drought ridden. Thus, it supported and protected both the environment as well as the people at the same time. Another project of the NGO is the watershed program, which intends to conduct soil and water conservation efforts in designated NGO owned regions. To ensure the growth of the community as a whole, they also endeavour to strengthen the skills and train the natives as well as the tribal members. The 13th is the Gram Chetna Kendra. The Gram Chetna Kendra has taken on the duty of offering answers to water difficulties in the light of repeated harms which is being caused because of drought in Rajasthan. Many tanks and pools have been constructed in Rajasthan for rainwater harvesting to relieve to some extent the water scarcity problem in certain Rajasthan districts, and ensuring that in those regions there is a year around availability of water, drinking water present. They have also built public restrooms so that they can improve the sanitation facilities to the people and in turn provide for a cleaner environment. Their livelihood promotion project intends to inform and assist the local farmers how to carry out resource efficient consumption, sustainable water use for irrigation, and use the cutting edge technology for farming. This Indian NGO works to safeguard the environment and also support the value chain starting from the farmer to the vendor and provide for environmentally sustainable methods of manufacturing. Now, what are these environmental NGOs? Among the NGOs, there are certain NGOs which work specifically for the environment, and these NGOs are classified as environmental NGOs. Environmental NGOs focuses on issues such as climate change, air pollution, deforestation, ozone layer depletion, waste management, biodiversity and land use, energy conservation, environmental degradation, land degradation. So, these are some of the areas in which the NGOs work, and such of those NGOs are classified as environmental NGOs. Many environmental NGOs have begun working with the government and the businesses to build a solid foundation for expanding into the future. In addition to actively working with the government on formulating policies for environmentally friendly and sustainable development, these organizations offer consulting services to businesses and industrial enterprises. To carry out their corporate social responsibilities, certain businesses are working with the NGOs. Environmental NGOs are able to carry out tasks better thanks to the power of the media and the judicial system that has made these things possible. Over the past few decades, the significance of environmental NGOs as important players for the environmental cause has grown tremendously. The majority of environmental NGOs began as small groups, very modest, and they concentrated on very few areas. However, issues such as education and training, environmental research, environmental monitoring, air water pollution, land degradation were some of the issues that these NGOs took up, and slowly has grown in size, and today they address vast areas such as eco-sensitive zones, wildlife preservation, etc. So, some of the environmental NGOs who are working in India are the Greenpeace India, who focus on climate change, toxic waste, nuclear safety, overfishing protection and environmental degradation. The SERI India works on environmental education, awareness, advocacy. EXNORA, which many of us are aware, works on preserving nature, presenting environmental degradation, most important waste management. The Avas Foundation works on air pollution, toxic heavy metal protection and noise pollution. The Foundation for Ecological Security works on conserving ecologically sensitive areas. The Goa Foundation works on environmental education, solid waste management. The CSE India works on a variety of environmental issues such as creating awareness, proposing a sustainable solution, climate change, air pollution, etc. The WWF, both at the international wing, also has an head office in India, and it works on conservation, wasteful consumption of resources, minimizing pollution, reduction of toxic waste, etc. Conserve India works on waste management as well as upcycling. The Windrock International works on natural resource management, energy, environment, climate change. Public interest litigation, which is the PIL, is one of the most effective system which is utilized by the NGOs to enforce environmental laws or to reform or modify the laws pertaining to environmental issues. PIL refers to any legal action taken to defend the public interest in the Indian context. The rise in judicial activism over the past few decades is found to be related to the increase in the PILs. PIL has developed as a favored tool in the struggle for environmental sustainability. For instance, a PIL filed in the Delhi High Court by the Tapas NGO resulted in the ban of plastics in Delhi in the beginning of January 2009. The introduction of biodegradable and jute bags had a very good effect on Delhi's attempt to go green. The NGO had put a lot of effort in educating the public about the use of plastic bags. They had displayed 20,000 banners, posters, and they staged demonstration at Jantar Mantar to encourage the people to support the ban on plastic bags. The Right to Information Act is the second most important tool which is used by NGOs to obtain information from organizations and government departments. These laws give the environmental NGOs the authority to look for pertinent information, including information on the laws and regulations, government actions pertaining to environmental issues and more. As a result, the general public or the society as a whole has become more aware of the rights, and if any legislation is broken by the people or the business, this tool comes in handy to find out where wrong has been done. For instance, a Rohit Prajapati run NGO submitted an RTI request to the Gujarat State Disaster Management Authority in June 2010 regarding what is the emergency chemical disaster strategy they have. It was found that Gujarat, which is a home to several chemical manufacturers and plants, did not have a strategy in place, and so such RTI helped the NGOs as well as the government to understand their role in protecting the environment. So, the government and environmental NGOs need to have a good collaboration for effective working. The government, whether be it the state or the national level, are the key stakeholders in environmental issues. The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the MOF, has, as well as the central and the state pollution control boards, are the most important departments who work for environmental protection, and they need to collaborate with the environmental NGOs. They should work together to promote greater accountability, transparency, and they need to act as watchdogs to ensure that the policies are being implemented in good faith. They act as pressure groups for the enforcement of pertinent laws, and they work to provide solutions for environmental sustainability. Government and NGOs should work together to build a safe and environmentally friendly future for our nation. For instance, the MOF established an NGO cell in May 1992 to support both the new and the future NGOs. The cell also serves as a one-stop shop for all NGO related operations carried out by several ministry divisions. 223 NGOs have been accredited by the West Bengal Pollution Control Board to advance environmental causes in Bengal state. Additionally, the state government consults with the NGOs regarding the programs for environmental awareness. Now, what is the role of industry in NGOs functioning? Businesses and industries are crucial for the expansion and the prosperity of any nation. However, business engaged in mining, chemical, fertilizers, paper, pulp, leather, steel, cement, all this are found to have a significant role on the environment because they emit a lot of pollution. The sustainability of the environment has been made more difficult by this ongoing development in the manufacturing sector. There are a number of government laws and regulations which have been put in place to ensure all the developmental activities are functioning and they are doing their business adhering to the laws and the acts presented by the government. So, some of these acts we have already seen, such as the Environment Protection Act of 1986, ozone depleting substance rules of 2000, hazardous waste management and handling rules of 1989, biomedical waste of 1998, the Mines Amendment Bill of 2011, Indian Fisheries Act of 1897, the Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act of 1974, the Air Prevention and Pollution Control Act of 1981, Indian Forest Act of 1927, Forest Conservation Act of 1980, as well as the amendment in 1988. And there are several more acts which are related to environmental protection. But despite this, factories and corporations sometimes break the law in order to achieve short-term advantage. Due to this, the role of environmental NGOs become crucial in addition to the steps taken by the government as well as the court. Corporations and environmental NGOs are becoming more aware of the need to collaborate in order to achieve the overarching goal of developing an environmentally friendly and sustainable products are given to the market. An increasing number of businesses in India are having strategic conversation with environmental NGOs on how to have sustainable products delivered and how to have this product recycled so that we get into a circular economy. On the subject of CSR, there is also a growing relationship between the corporate entities and the environmental NGOs. They serve as the business tool to fulfill the corporate social obligation. For instance, PepsiCo and NGO Exnora collaborated to develop a repeatable strategy that can be used in places such as Chennai, Panipat, Kadalur and others to remove the garbage from the customer end. Few NGOs are also accused of using foreign donations in the, for example, we take the Kudankulam project in Tamil Nadu, where there are rumors held that international donors has instigated the riot in the establishment of the nuclear power plant in Kudankulam. According to one estimate, there are projects worth 300 billion that are stalled in crucial infrastructure sectors like mining, power because of small objections and bottlenecks which have been made by the environmental NGOs through their public interest litigations. Some of the NGOs are also supported by business entities who utilize them as a platform to negotiate advantageous terms as a weapon to take out their rivals and enemies. So, these are the negative things which the NGO should stop doing. It is alarming that more and more NGOs are employing unethical methods, and this trend has to be stopped. In order to reform environmental laws and regulations and to ensure that they are being enforced, environmental NGOs have risen as one of the most powerful external pressure group. For instance, very few NGOs are actively involved in educating the rural population about the indoor pollution, which claims the lives of thousands of people every year. The reason why majority of the NGOs choose to target MNCs and large firms is because by doing so, they immediately get into the news media and the NGOs are propagated or promoted across India. For example, the issue of pesticide residue in soft drink was exaggerated and the media quickly picked it up. However, it was found that it is because of the contaminated groundwater that the pesticide was found in the soft drink. So, such things need to be avoided. The role of NGOs is very important for environmental protection. Their roles include raising the public awareness of contemporary environmental problems and solutions, assisting different stakeholder groups in participating in the discussion of environmental issues. Participatory rural appraisal has to be done by NGOs. Being active in defending the people's right for a clean environment, ensuring equitable use of the resources, producing data, monitoring the functioning of projects. So, these are the very important roles that an NGO has to perform while implementing the environmental laws. Information dissemination through pamphlets, through public distribution systems has to be promoted. They can also educate the public through lectures, seminars, and having interviews with the community. NGOs working for the environment in India have reduced the soil erosion and deforestation, and they also inform the public about the importance of segregating the biodegradable garbage at the customer level, at the micro level. However, there are certain limitations in the performance of environmental NGOs. For example, there are lack of qualified people working in environmental protection, there are lack of facilities to do research, there are financial limitations. Further, there is a lack of support from the executive branch. Mobility issues also pose a lot of problem for the NGOs functioning. Further, there are cultural hurdles. NGOs frequently face backlash for being perceived as encroaching on people's century old customs and cultures. For example, the ban of Jallikattu after the public interest litigation by PETA is one such example. Lack of proper networking, which also leads to lack of proper communication because of poor networks, poor communication network channels. And we find that NGOs, we need lots of volunteering. There is lack of volunteering, maybe because parents do not allow their children to get into NGOs. So, some of these are the reasons which limit the functioning of the NGOs, and we need to ensure that these limitations are removed so that the environmental NGO is able to function at its fullest and is able to take the laws implemented by the nation to the common man, so that we have the environment and the ecosystem preserved. We find NGOs have a very prominent role from raising awareness of environmental issues and getting them on the international agenda, to influencing outcomes, implementing decisions, as well as monitoring the project and its progress. So, now let us see a few questions and answers from this module. Question 1. What is the role and responsibility of NGO in environmental law implementation? NGOs has an important part in taking the laws to the public and ensuring its implementation. NGOs have in particular played an important role in raising the environmental concern, developing awareness of environmental issues, and promoting sustainable development. It starts from improved literacy rate and goes up to social justice. Question 2. What are NGOs doing for climate change? At the local level, the CSOs and the NGOs can play a very catalytic role in building up the community awareness of climate change and its likely impact on their lives, their livelihoods, as well as their habitats. They can build up their capacities to undertake the needed adaptive actions to reduce the vulnerability. They can mitigate risks as well as build resilience. How do we start an environmental NGO? The steps that we can do to start an environmental NGO or an NGO for that matter in India is first decide the mission, the cause for the NGO. Next, set up a board of directors and members. Decide the name of the NGO. List the memorandum and articles of association. Next, get the NGO registered, and next we need funds to run the NGO. So, these are the steps for setting up an NGO in India. To summarize, in this module, we have learned the different NGOs that is working for the environment. we have understood how NGOs are instrumental, crucial in implementing the environmental laws in India. Thank you.